Hello there, this is RomWills coming back at you with yet another video. Don't work to convince women you are a good man. I was thinking about that because, of course, I always watch that show, The Gift That Keeps On Giving, the balloon pop show. Now, there was a young lady who got on there and, with a straight face, she said, well, 99.9% of men cheat. Now, one guy checked her on that statement, but I was thinking about that because one of the things you have out here, you got some women just think all men are bad. And really, it's not that all men are bad, because if I would have challenged that woman or even any woman who would say something about all men, I'll say, well, one, you haven't dealt with all men. And even if it's all the men you dealt with, if you've dealt with 20 men who treated you a certain way, the only thing they had in common was you. So you had to look at yourself when you dealing with that type of man. But whatever the case, that's talking to the woman. Now, if you a guy, one of the things out here is you get a bunch of guys who, they generally good men. They are really good men. They don't even really shouldn't have to convince anybody. But regardless, there's going to be some women who are going to try to put them down anyway because they're men. These women are basically misandrous. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Look, I'm going to tell you what. Don't try to convince that woman who you are. If that woman don't see you as good because of your gender, and she don't know you, don't get mad. In fact, think about what I said in my last sit-down video. You got to have a thick skin about it, because you're going to have some women out here, because they dealt with a few good men. They haven't dealt with every single man on the planet. They're going to constantly run into a man and they're going to feel like, hey, this how men are. But it ain't who you are. You know you're a good guy. You know you ain't trying to cheat. You know you trying to treat women well. Heck, you might even catch some hell from other guys because you're trying to treat women well. You stick with that. That's who you are. It's like I always talk about that guy, and I hadn't talked to him in a long time, but he was a nice guy. He was proud of it. Whatever you are. See, as a man, you got to stick with who you are. You don't try to convince women of anything. You ain't trying to convince that woman. If she can't look at you and see who you are, don't worry about it. You keep moving. You keep moving. There's 4 billion women in this world. You only deal with the women who can see you and appreciate you for who you are. Don't work to convince a woman otherwise. If that woman ain't seeing that you're a good guy, if that woman ain't seeing that you can do whatever, fine, let her go. In fact, I would even say that in situations where you get a lot of men, they'll try to compete with a bad boy and say, why she with him? Don't worry about it. If she with him, she with him. If you legitimately a good guy who's doing something with his life, who got something going on, and that woman can't see it, whose loss is that? That's her. But here's the thing. You don't know what's going on with her. Like, you get a lot of women out here go for bad boys, bad guys, toxic men. If you find that out, you don't get mad at the woman. You don't get mad at the man. You just be thankful to whoever you worship as God that you didn't get caught up in that situation. And that's all you can do. That's all you can worry about. You don't worry about any other of that bullshit. Seriously, you're a good guy. You don't have to argue with that woman. If that woman say, well, you're a man, you this, it's like, okay. You should stay out of my way then. If that's the most you should say to her. But this like, oh, okay, that helped me. Then it's like, oh, okay, I see where you at. Let me go over here. You have a good day. You be nice to them. In fact, it'll mess with that woman. Because I'm going to tell you something. Deep down, when you get women like that, deep down, they want a man to try to convince them otherwise. Deep down, they still looking for a man. On that particular balloon pop show, if that woman, ain't no way, that woman is believing that men, 99.9% of men cheat, and she still come on that show. Deep down, that woman, that type of woman wants a man to convince her otherwise. But you know what? You don't have time for that. Because as a man, you worried about your main relationship is with yourself. Your main relationship is, your main thing is whatever mission you're on. Shoot, you gotta work. You gotta work 40 to whatever hours a day. You up there trying to build your life. You trying to build yourself. You hitting the gym. You trying to keep your health up. You don't have time for it. See, one of the major problems out here, you get too many men think they got to convince a woman or something. You don't have to convince her of shit. Because women checking you out, they see what you are. But if they don't want to deal with you, they just don't want to deal with you. And you don't get mad at them. You don't have time. You do not have time. Only thing that woman need to do is stay out of your way. Because you're trying to do something. And because you know what? There's plenty of good women out there. See, one of the things men need to do is just focus on the good women who appreciate a good man. And if you have to travel to find that woman, well, you might have to travel. You might have to do something. But if that woman can't look at you and see you got a bunch of stuff going on, and when I say a bunch of stuff going on, hey, you got the you treat women well. You treat women well. You're respectful. Shoot, even if you having sex with them, you're gonna make sure they get theirs. But if they can't see you and appreciate that, or even if they don't feel like you're that attractive guy, whatever. Move on. Move on. You don't try to convince her. Like I said, and I said this several times, women be checking out a guy for a long time. Don't think, even in cold approach, you might think you cold approaching, that woman's been checking you out. And women, they see what's up. They know a good man when they see it. In fact, I'm gonna tell you something a lot of women have said. I've heard this over the decades of life. They'll meet a good man, but they'll say, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna hold back because I see he's good. I can't be messing around. And see, they'll get with that toxic man to have fun and everything. But you don't have time for all of that mess. You don't have time. You're moving on. You're not waiting for that woman. You don't have time for that crap. And I do mean crap. You moving on. You looking for somebody in cooperation with your operation. You doing what you have to do to be the best you can do. Like, don't work. Don't try to convince her. Don't try to convince that woman to like you. Don't try to convince that woman you're a good man. If she can't see that shit, well, she just can't see it. Whatever. Move on and deal with women who can see that you're a good man. You don't have time to try to convince that woman otherwise. You don't have time for that crap. And I do mean crap, okay? If you're a good man, there's some women who will appreciate you. And like I said, if whatever environment you in, they don't appreciate you, then you need to move. You need to move. You need to figure out what your tribe is, all right? I want y'all to think about that. Think about what I just said, okay? Because seriously, it's too many guys out here trying to argue with these women. You know, argue with them for what? That woman already got issues. Why you want her in your bed? Why you want her in your space? She need to be in cooperation with your operation. I want y'all to think about that, all right? And I'll get back with y'all. Peace.